In January 1991, as strong winds swept across Iraq, endless yellow sand danced in the air, as if foretelling the severe trial this Middle Eastern powerhouse would soon face. At that time, Iraq's leader, Saddam Hussein, had just received a stern warning from the United Nations to withdraw from Kuwait, yet he remained calm, firm in his resolve to confront the United States to the end. Saddam's confidence stemmed from his observation of America's defeat in Vietnam, where he believed the Middle Eastern desert would be the graveyard of U.S. forces, but reality was not on his side. On January 17th, when hundreds of American fighter jets launched over 100 Tomahawk cruise missiles in their initial strike, Iraq's million-strong army was shattered within just 42 days, thanks to the power of modern warfare. 12 years later, when the U.S. military once again defeated Iraq, this time in 2023, the Americans, while clearing the battlefield, unearthed 800 perfectly preserved fighter jets buried in the desert. Why did Saddam, a strong man of the Middle East, decide to bury these intact aircraft in the desert? What was the deeper significance of this action? The famous investor Charlie Munger once said, "To a man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail." Before his first overseas war, Saddam believed he was the one holding the hammer, the madman who could dominate the fate of the Middle East. In reality, Saddam's confidence was not just for show. In 1980, 1 year after taking power in Iraq, Saddam ordered an invasion of neighboring Iran, with whom Iraq had deep-seated conflicts. This war lasted for 8 years and is known as the $2 trillion war. Both sides claimed victory, though at the cost of nearly 1 million casualties combined, and Iraq was left with a heavy debt burden. Kuwait alone lent Iraq over $10 billion. But as Saddam looked at his million-strong army, hardened by years of war, a bold idea formed in his mind. If he could eliminate his creditors, he wouldn't have to repay the debt. In May 1990, at the Arab Summit, Saddam openly declared to the representatives of the Arab world, "If they don't give me money, I know how to deal with them." On August 2, 1990, Saddam's 200,000-strong army marched into Kuwait, and the world quickly realized what Saddam's solution was: war. Saddam's invasion of Kuwait was met with swift international condemnation. The United Nations Security Council passed Resolution 660, calling for the use of force if necessary to make Iraq withdraw, but Saddam wasn't concerned. After all, Iraq possessed the most powerful military force in the Middle East at that time, along with an advanced national air defense system built with French technology. Confident in his military superiority, Saddam saw Iraq as the world's fourth strongest military power. Before the First Gulf War, Saddam confidently told reporters that the defeat in Vietnam had proven that air superiority alone could not bring America victory. However, Saddam made a grave error in judgment. On the morning of January 17, 1991, hundreds of U.S. fighter jets launched over 100 GPS-guided Tomahawk missiles at key Iraqi military targets. This operation, called Desert Shield, had begun. In just 42 days, Saddam's once vaunted million-strong army was decimated by American forces. The U.S. proved to the world that the age of warfare had changed. Welcome to the era of information warfare. Saddam's dreams of regional dominance collapsed in the face of America's overwhelming military might. But was America's destruction of Saddam a purely righteous endeavor? Of course not. The U.S. was motivated to act not only because Saddam sought to occupy Kuwait, the fifth largest oil producer in the world, but also because he wanted to switch oil trade settlements from the dollar to the euro. This deeply threatened America's oil dominance. Moreover, Saddam had ambitions to expand his influence, which struck at the core of American interests. Nevertheless, to maintain regional balance, Saddam retained his position as Iraq's leader, and he expressed willingness to cooperate by abandoning all weapons of mass destruction. However, he refused to fully cooperate with UN inspections, sowing the seeds of his downfall. Then, in 2001, the world was shaken by the 9/11 attacks, and the U.S. began to see Saddam as a thorn in its side. In a dramatic and deceptive performance, U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell famously held up a vial of what he claimed to be chemical weapons, later revealed to be mere laundry detergent, at a UN conference. On March 20, 2003, the Iraq War broke out. This time, Saddam's Iraq offered only token resistance. By April 9, the capital, Baghdad, had fallen to the US-British coalition. The once mighty strong man of the Middle East, Saddam, after 8 months on the run, was captured by American forces in his hometown of Tikrit. In November 2006, this former regional dictator was executed by hanging, ending his life. Yet, a lingering mystery remains. Saddam didn't seem to fight the US with his full strength. During post-war cleanup operations, US forces discovered that Saddam had buried over 800 perfectly preserved fighter jets in the Iraqi desert. In the remote sands of Iraq, the US military found these aircraft hidden away. Though somewhat outdated compared to US planes, these jets were nevertheless valuable. Saddam, after weighing the pros and cons, decided to bury them in the desert. Looking back now, this move carries a deeper significance. First, the sheer power of US information warfare forced Saddam to avoid direct confrontation. During the First Gulf War, Iraq's military was overwhelmed by America's new electronic warfare and precision strike tactics. On the infamous Highway of Death, over 100 American A-10 warplanes annihilated thousands of retreating Iraqi troops, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Even US pilots described it as witnessing hell. In Saddam's eyes, the US military was an unbeatable force, and he refused to squander Iraq's most valuable military asset, its air force, in a futile battle against them. Second, Saddam still harbored ambitions of regaining power in the Middle East, despite being crushed in the First Gulf War. Iraq's military strength, especially its armored divisions and ground forces, remained formidable in a region where most countries were relatively weak. Saddam's 800 hidden jets, if preserved, could become a crucial asset for him to make a comeback if the international situation changed. But history had other plans. These jets, which could have symbolized Saddam's resurgence, ultimately fell into American hands, mirroring Iraq's broader fate. Since then, Iraq's most valuable resource, its oil, along with its millions of citizens, have been trapped in a chaotic spiral engineered by America, living in a hellish cycle of war and despair. Perhaps Saddam genuinely hoped to rise again with his hidden fighter jets, but he never imagined that the US would strike him down so decisively, leaving him no chance. After capturing him, the US wasted no time in convicting him and executing him for his alleged crimes. Even if the US had spared Saddam, those fighter jets now discovered by American forces would never have been returned to him. This is the true nature of American power.